The spring market has sprung and we are officially into May. And it definitely hasn't been your usual spring market. It's felt a little bit more delayed, a little bit more pushed back, but we're definitely now seeing competition ramp up for the listings that are out there. With that being said, this is Toronto Real Estate by the numbers for April 2023, the video series we do every single month talking about the Toronto real estate market, looking at Toronto real estate numbers, the trends, seeing what's changed stat-wise, and compare it to what it is like being a first-time buyer in Toronto. My goal and my hope for this video series is every single month, if I can kind of get those scary big number stats and break it down to very simple trends that you as a first-time buyer, someone getting into the real estate market, can understand. For me, that's success. Right before we jump in, my name is Gabriela Batista from Homes into Reality. I'm a Toronto real estate agent and I work in the GTA, and I help first-time buyers and I help educate first-time buyers about getting into the real estate market. My goal every week is to help support you through this very emotional and grueling journey as a first-time buyer. It's a very difficult process living in Toronto. So if I can provide you some sort of value, so whenever you're ready to move in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whenever that may be, you can do so with confidence and educated well. If you wanted to reach out or you had any questions about being a first-time buyer in Toronto, all of my information, my phone number, my email, you can book a call with me in the description as well. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to answer any specific questions, any personal questions when it comes to being a first-time buyer in Toronto. You can also follow my Instagram where I post weekly content on there about being a first-time buyer. And of course, come back every single week on YouTube where I have a new video. So first things that's important to remember is when we look at the price points of these different types of Toronto properties, we are looking at the median price point for the sole reason that average price points tend to get a little bit higher because we're looking at luxury properties. It pushes that average up. So as a first-time buyer, we're looking mostly at entry-level units where the median is a much better understanding of the price point that we're looking at to get into the market. Now let's look into the median price point of different types of Toronto properties. We'll see over here the median price point of a detached home in Toronto. We're looking at 1.465 million. For a median price point of a semi-detached, we're looking at 1.2 million. For a freehold townhouse, we're looking at 1.296 million. For a condo townhouse, we're looking at $850,000. And for a condo apartment, we're looking at $663,000. So now the important thing is, what do these numbers really mean? It's one thing for us and them to tell us it's a median price point of properties in April, and they give us an understanding of what the property value is right now. With that being said, we want to look at the trends and see where property prices have been and where they're going. When we look year over year, from April 2022 to April 2023, the detached market is down 6.15%. The semi-detached market is down 11.11%. The freehold townhouses is down 0.27%. The condo townhouse market is down just under 4%, and the condo apartment market is down just under 9%. And now let's look at month over month numbers. We're comparing last month, March of 2023 to April of 2023. We're looking at increases across the board, really. We're looking at the market being up in the detached market 6.5%. We're looking at a semi-detached home up 2.91%. Freehold towns are up almost 14%. They're up. Condo townhouses are up 7.6%, and condo apartments are up 1.22%. So let's break down those numbers. We'll keep them up over here. Last year around this time in April and more March, we were seeing really huge year-over-year differences because that was the peak of the market in February. March was the highest property values have been. So we're going to see declines year over year. I'm actually fairly shocked that freehold townhouses are not down very much at all. But it's definitely a change from last year's market. You're definitely not paying those extreme amounts we were last year. So that's something that makes sense. We're at a lower price point. Interest rates are higher. Affordability is less. We're not at those price points. When it comes to the month over month numbers that I find really interesting is they're all up. And a little bit is because it's been a little bit of a delayed spring market. Competition seems to be at its highest right now. What is that going to do in the future? Who knows? But it definitely feels like the competition is definitely at its highest right now. With that being said, I would take a lot of caution into some of these numbers, with the freehold townhouses being the specific one that I would take a lot of caution in. Them being up 14% in 1 month is not feasible, in the sense that sometimes we do have off months and trends. We'll pull up over here that some of the trends of what we look at, there are months where things will pop up and they may pop back down. So I would probably track the freehold townhouses on a month-to-month basis, not just one day, just the April numbers. I'd be wondering if that actually corrects itself next month. But overall, it's confident we can say that overall, month over month, numbers are up, competition's up, prices are more competitive, people are spending more money on these properties. Now, the real question is, why is that? Why are these properties spending more money on the market? And a lot of that has to do with the supply of real estate, what the active listings and the new listings are, which is exactly what we're looking to right now. So starting by looking at new listings. And for new listings, if we look at just the trend overall for the year, we definitely have been a little bit behind what the usual spring market gives us. We typically see that market peak up. We get more listings in February, March, and April, and we haven't seen that yet. We've actually been pretty flat from April to March of this year. We've seen pretty low listings. We have closed that gap a little bit, but new listings are down 28.8%. So we definitely have less inventory in the market, and that tends to be why competition drives up, because there's less fresh new listings on the market. We're not getting as much, there's less properties for buyers to fight over. And if those listings are quality, they're going to drive up those prices definitely, because those properties are not as plentiful. Now moving to our active inventory. And the active inventory is what's been on the market and what's stayed on the market. So no matter old, new, whatever it is, the current amount of listings in the Toronto market. And we're down 5.92%. And what's interesting about that is in the past months, we actually were up. We had more active listings out there. So we've gotten to the point where there's so little new inventory coming in the market that buyers are getting a little bit more competitive, and they're looking at those stale listings that have been in the market for a little bit longer. They may not be getting the prices that those stale listings have wanted. They may have had to compromise. I've seen a couple of situations in my active searches with clients where a lot of these really stale listings had to settle a lot on prices. But we're definitely seeing buyers look at those listings, pick those listings out, because there's nothing new on the market. And that's just the nature of what we're going to see when there's such little new inventory on the market. Buyers who want to buy during the spring market, a lot of people will want to buy because they want to, buy a property now, close on the property in the summer when the kids are out of school. They want to buy during this time. No matter if there's listings for sale or there's few listings for sale, they want to buy. And because it's so competitive there, they're going to get desperate in the sense of, I'll look at these listings here, I'll try to get a deal for it and get it at market value. But then now they're at least looking at these listings, and these listings are going places, which is good news for them. What's a really interesting number is our sold numbers are actually comparable. They're only down 10% or 9.56% compared to last year. And the reason why a lot of this is last year in April was the first month where prices really started to, or at least sales really started to drop. Prices didn't drop right away, but sales really started to drop. People were seeing the interest rate hikes and they weren't moving right away, or they just held off their search, and sales really did drop from March to April of last year. So we're still down off of last year's number, but we're definitely a little bit closer to what that is. Compared to this year, where in 2023, this is the most amount of sales we've had for any single month. We had more sales this month than we did last month, which is encouraging that the spring market maybe is a little bit delayed. People are still out there looking and continuing their search on. Usually I would say March is the peak of prices sold and such, with April being the outlier over here, is very interesting news. It also leads me to believe that because the peak of sales have so far been in April, that also kind of explains why prices have been up as well. Does this mean that we're more in a seasonal market? Prices tend to peak around this time of year, and that's why we saw so much month-over-month increases. Does this mean this is the top of the market? Who knows? But it definitely shows signs that, because these prices jumped up so much, there's some backing and understanding to it. In February of last year, there was very little explanation on why prices were going so crazy. There's a little bit more explanation right now why prices are up, and why they may be a little bit more competitive right now. Days on market is also up. You're looking last year, you were at 12 days on market compared to this year, 18 days on market. And that's just a virtue that there's a lot of properties right now. This is an average. There are a lot of properties that may sell in 60, 90, 100 days. And that's really going to bring up that average because of the stale markets or the stale listings out there. We're not in a situation where every single property is an offer date selling in 5-7 days. So it definitely brings up the average, and it shows that there are some deals to be had in some units that are not extremely competitive out there. Those are our typical trends that we follow on Real Estate by the Numbers. I'm going to go into a couple anecdotes when it comes to what I'm seeing in the market right now. The key thing for me is I'm looking at the freehold market versus the condo market. If we look at the market when it comes to detached, semi, and freeholds, they're up a little bit more than something like condo apartments. Condo apartments are only up 1.22%. And for a lot of first-time buyers, which I imagine most of you guys are first-time buyers, that's very interesting, because if this is the peak of our market, peak competitiveness, we're really not seeing that same competitiveness when it comes to offers. Me personally, all the properties that are condos have much fewer offers than some of the freehold properties. That just could be that they're at a better price point. There's less competition out there for it. Maybe people are looking to get deals on freehold properties at the entry level price point. But for condo apartments, I really haven't seen the same competition as the freehold market has. And if this is going to be the peak of appreciation month over month, maybe it won't be, who knows. But if this is going to be one of the more busier times a year and we're only getting 1.22% increase in condo numbers, that very well could, signal towards a fairly stable condo market for the next few months to a year, depending on what happens with the interest rates and overall buyer sentiment as things change. This is a very similar sentiment to last year, where after that really larger decrease happened with condos, it was a fairly stable market. It was probably the least volatile market of all the property types, condos versus freeholds overall. And this probably spells a very similar situation when it comes to the future of condos. They've been very stable all year round, all last year round. So it's something that's, for me as a first-time buyer, is fairly encouraging. Compared to a very volatile market. You'll see with freeholds over here, for example, a detached home was extremely volatile, and it looks like prices are still being fairly volatile. They're kind of jumping up again this year. So for a condo first-time buyer, I have much more confidence that overall you can feel pretty confident in the value of the property long term. The other observation that I'm going to look at, maybe not predict, but give it maybe a general sense of where my thoughts are at. Because we are seeing some spiking in numbers and it's finally hitting the news is kind of covering how prices are jumping up once again, it could very well be what we need to bring that extra listing inventory out. I've always said on this channel that sellers are going to be stubborn and they're going to get the price point that they want for the property. It very well may be a situation where they see the prices are kind of going back up again. It may encourage sellers, hey, we're ready to sell now. Let's get our house on the market. That extra supply might be what the market needs to really stable out and stop being so volatile. So that's something that I'm looking out. I'm really hoping that listing inventory comes up, not only for number one, prices be more affordable, but number two, so my buyers have more opportunities. It's very difficult when you see properties with clients and there's just nothing to see. Very few quality listings out there. So I'm hoping that brings more inventory on the market for Toronto, and it gives my buyers some great opportunities. But in the end, I don't have a crystal ball. No one does. We say that saying all the time. With that being said, the best thing that we can do as number one, a first-time buyer, me as a real estate agent, or you as someone who lives in Toronto who's curious about Toronto real estate, track the numbers, track the trends, track the stats. Let's do our best to keep educated in the market. So even if you're going to buy in a year, buy in 2 years, buy in 6 months, buy in 3 months, you want to track these trends as best as you can. So when you go into a property that you're ready to buy, you do so educated, you know what's going on in the market, and you can feel confident that what we're looking into is we're not walking into something blind. So this is why every single month I post these videos about the real estate market. Same thing with my rental videos and my condo videos to keep you educated on the process. So when you're ready to make that big move, you're going to do so with a ton of confidence. And if you are looking to make that big move in Toronto, I'm your guy. Give me a shout. In the description, we have my phone number, my email. You can book a call with me there as well. I'm happy to talk about your situation and getting you in the Toronto real estate market whenever that is. I'm happy to touch base and go over anything I can do to help. That's my goal with this channel, to help my clientele be productive, be educated, be confident when it comes to the search. I more than encourage you to reach out and get that process started with me. So that's it. Toronto real estate by the numbers every single month. I'm going to be back next month. Going to be back next week. Keep coming back for more video content about being a first-time buyer in Toronto. Take care. Talk as always. Bye.